Good morning, Denise Dryden here. I'm doing my weekly presentation on all things emotions, all things relationship, and I figured that I'd probably have said this before, but wanted to thank you for coming. Thank you for tuning in. If you're on YouTube, hit subscribe, follow me. I do these on Facebook Live, YouTube, and LinkedIn, so you can find me in a lot of different places, as well as my website. And they have all of the previous videos. So part of what I wanted to share today is that as a triple water sign, meaning that, I've got 3 water signs in my predominant first 3. And so I'm all water, which means that I totally work in the realms of emotions at all times, right? Emotions, which means that I'm working with systems, I'm working with, reactivities, I'm working with energy in motion. And so over the last few years, I've had a really good time focusing on what it means to be highly sensitive. What does it mean to be multidimensional? What does it mean to have multiple intelligences? What happens when you're empathic and you have these skills, these strong emotional skills? And how do we translate those into school systems, into relationships, into work environments, right? So calling all observers, all readers, all energy masters, these are the dynamics that happen between you and another. So what we're going to talk about today is the emotions of dissonance. What happens when there's dissonance there? So dissonance, when you go to the root word, it's an old French word meaning dissonant. To be dissonant means that you're apart, that your sounds are not cohesive, they're not reacting. It's when there's something harsh, inharmonious going on, that there's this noise in your head. And so I thought I would find out. Of course, I always bring my tarot cards in. So from Osho, there's this noise in your head that comes in from someplace that you don't really recognize. This is the 8 of Swords, this is what happens when you start manifesting that noise and you're not sure what to do with it. This is what you can look like energetically when that noise takes over, right? When there's full-on dissonance, right? Or energetically with fire, it starts to sort of collapse in on you and come out sideways. So when this noise, this disharmony, it's hard on the ears, it's hard on the brain, it's hard on the body, it's hard on the soul. It's just, it sets you off because, based on the definition of dissonance, it's a lack of agreement. It's when there's discord. It's when there's a lack of harmony, or when you're out of sync, right? When you're not lining up with the other person. I love this card. This is the 7 of Cups through the Osho deck. It's when you aren't lining up with somebody else and you don't know who you are and you don't know who you're talking to, right? And you project all this crap onto each other. So it's a lack of harmony. It's being out of sync. It's when there's inconsistencies and a lack of energy. So it's energetic. It's invisible. It's the conflict of vibration that's off. So it's really not personal. I mean, I think of Don Miguel Ruiz's The 4 Agreements, and it's not personal. Whatever is going on with that person doesn't have anything to do with you, and whatever's going on with you doesn't have anything to do with them. So it's not personal. It just means that there's a vibration clash and that there's tension there. And they're not doing something to you. They're not causing you to go into the victim mode. So what happens is when we get triggered, we go into this, you made me, you did this to me. It's kind of like, wow, this is what happens when dissonance takes over in relationships. So in 2020 and now 2021, what we're seeing is incredible changes, awakenings, discords, in the way that things used to be, the way that we wanted to live, the way that we are living now. And what's happening is that we are encountering dissonance between you and another. It could be a parent, it could be a spouse, it could be a child. And so you're having a reaction. They're having a reaction. There's tension pushing. And there's this also this sort of thing like, I'm going to remove them from my life because this tension is too hard to live with. So we have estrangement, we have conflict, we have, so sort of internal, put your head down and pretend it isn't there, or blaming in the other person, shaming them, mocking them, hurting them because what they're talking about makes you feel uncomfortable. So dissonance can come from the collective. It can come from news sources. It can come from political views. It can come from a lot of different places, right? It's what happens when we have this vibration and something over here has a vibration that is actually causing conflict, right? And, this is what happens in the Thoth deck, which is the Princess of Swords, which is she's got to figure out how to fight all of that dissonance coming in, and she's in full-on warrior. These things, or when what it looks like when you feel completely overwhelmed. Look at all those dark clouds, all those this is the Three of Swords. Something's blocking me. It's not working, right? So, to bring it right straight down into relationships, and when emotions are simply energetic reactions to dissonance, which means my body's off and I hurt, I have noise in my head, my body is in reaction, it's sort of not feeling good. It's like, well, you did this, right? So places where I've seen this lately in the last 2 weeks with clients and friends, is that, what happens when one person is very introverted and quiet and needs their quiet space, and their sister or their spouse is this loud person who has decided that the way that they're going to deal with all the stress is to sing or to make noise or to, beat their hands on the counter to sort of and you're just looking at them like, I need you to stop. I need you to stop. Second one is when a teen reacts, and I see this quite frequently within the therapeutic programs, is what happens when the empathic teen is reacting to your worry. Because they know that you're worried about them, but you're worried about them because you don't have any faith in them. You don't trust them. You don't know if they're going to make it. You don't know if you're, boom, 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 boom. So they're reading all of the things that you're thinking that you're hiding inside your head. And then they don't even want to be in the same room with you. You start to talk and they just tune you out and they leave. Number 3 is when you outgrow a friendship, a job, a marriage, and you don't know how to address it. And so you're sort of holding on to, all of the problems, but you're not really talking about them. And they're just adding up all the time. And they seem to be just a bunch of garbage around you. And you start to look like this very exhausted being because you don't know how to talk about it. You don't know what to do, right? So this is what happens when dissonance is there. Now, for those of you who've been following me for the 4.5, 5 years that I've been doing videos, in 2018, 2019, we started to explore energy. What is it? How does it cause reactions? What do we do when it hits old hurts and traumas and it activates these areas of dissonance? And how do we start to heal that? And then in 2020, with this opportunity of lockdowns and removals from distractions to figure out who you are, what's your energy, what's mine, what is somebody else's. Well, you start to begin to understand this is who I am. And the more that we can define this is who I am. It has nothing to do with somebody else, right? That's what we've been working on in 2020. So I have tips. I always have tips. And what we're going to do is, I just looked at my clock and my clock stopped. It was really funny. It stopped me right in my tracks. I always offer tips because the tips are the most important part to be able to talk about, which is when you have dissonance and when your emotions are on the rise. Number 1, first thing to do is recognize, oh boy, I'm activated. I'm in some sort of a shit show, right? Something's going on and I'm not sure what it is. So I have to be able to recognize it. Might feel really harsh. It might feel really off, but to recognize it. Okay, I'm swirling. Something's going on. Number 2, bring your system into balance, into calm, into homeostasis, so that you can focus while all of this is going on the outside, that you can then interact with it. You can work with it. You can breathe and go faster, slower. It's kind of like if you're in the middle of this Tasmanian devil, you know, this swirling, that's not the time to talk. What you have to do is calm yourself down so that you can talk and identify it, right? Number 3, explore it, clarify, identify it. This is me. When I touch something, this is what it is. This is them. I notice that my body's calm and I'm not in reaction, but no matter what I say, this person is exploding. Okay, now I'm identifying where these sources are, right? Number 4, for some reason, in the last 2 weeks, I've been teaching a lot of body as a pendulum, and you can go back and find that video, or doing simple yes and no's. So the one that I've been using a lot lately is to pinch both of my fingers together and then to interlock them. And for me, no matter how I try to pull my hands apart, this is a yes for me. And when I say no, I cannot hold these together if I tried. So when I'm in confusion, when I'm in that dissonance, when I'm not able to figure out what's going on, I go, okay, hold on just a minute. Here we go. This is me being confused. This is me being activated. This is me being reactive to someone else's stuff, right? And so you can ask the question, is this me? No. Oh, phew. Okay, so now I know it's not me. It is something they're doing. Yes. Okay. Have they been triggered by me? Yes. And so it's like working with your field to get this information, okay? So that's the 4th one. The 5th one is, the very first response at all times when you feel dissonance, when you feel these emotions are activated, when you are on it, right, is to go sovereign. This is me. This is who I know myself to be. This is me. This is them. So you separate. You create a separation in energy and you identify who you are. Second response always is to go to compassion, which is, this is hard. Oh, wow. This is a lot harder than I thought it was. This is painful. This hurts. Doesn't matter. However we phrase it, you go to compassion. Third response is to have a very clear and precise, firm boundary between you and the other person, which is if they're doing all of this, right, and you can feel this in your head, is to say, I get right now that something is activating you, something is hurting you, something has triggered you, and it makes sense to me that I'm going to move over here and I'm going to take some space, and if you want to come talk, you can come talk to me. However, it's not okay for you to throw things at me. It's not okay for you to say caustic things to me because you're upset. So what we do is we clear our fields and we hold our boundaries and we say no. If I understand that this is something you're going through, if I understand this is something I'm going through, then now I have the ability to face it head on and be very clear about what to do with it. So dissonance is going to be a really big piece of 2020, 21, and 22, 23, because as we are going through tremendous cultural changes, personal changes, financial, political, global changes, we're going to have some that are holding this energy and some that are holding this energy. And that dissonance is going to feel really loud and off in our systems. How we manage that is completely up to us. All right. So if you would like more information, you can always get a hold of me on DeniseDrydenCoaching.com. I realized I started this video 30 minutes early. I was just on a roll this morning, 9:30. Here we go. So for those of you who missed the live version, I apologize. And for those of you who've been tuning in, thank you so much. And I'll see you next week. Take care. Bye-bye.